Hello everybody, it's me, Shinall-Tanguma, and on this video I'm going to show you what the basic interface of Macromedia Flash 8 does. Not sure of all the components, but I can at least show you some of it. So, say you have a shape on Flash. This arrow tool, you can use it to move an object outwards, inwards, or you could either drag and select all of it, or you could just double click it and move it. Then what this arrow does is it lets you do what's called enveloping, which is basically taking the shape of the object and changing whatever you want on it. Then this tool is the free transform tool, which lets you also drag it wherever you want, but at the same time keeps it to where you can move it one way, or if you hold Shift and Alt, it lets you bring them both sides inwards. You can do that to stretch it either way, or even go and scale the object. Scale it inwards, outwards, whatever. This tool is the gradient tool, which if you have a gradient, like say you go from white to black, what this tool does is it allows you to change the center of the gradient. So if you drag it over here, it becomes lighter, or appears lighter, because it's moving the white base from starting here over to here. Or you can move it this way to make it darker. There's all black. Black base would be over here, so it would end off being black here, and all this continues to be black. Or you can move it over to make it lighter. Now the line tool. Line tool makes a line, so it's called the line tool. But if you want to add extra lines, you can do that. Select a corner, move the lines, and you can also take the lines, go to the middle, and you can bend them. So instead of lines, you can end up making curves. Now this, you may want to leave it to where it isn't connected to each other, because then when you get it connected, then once you move one thing, the other thing moves, and it can become a nuisance. Though in some cases it can be useful. Now the next tool is this Lasso Tool. As in many other programs, it allows you to make a specific selection on the item. And if you go over here, then it automatically connects both sides together. So you don't actually have to connect everything. You just do that. Now on this tool, you got to be careful of what you select, otherwise once you select it, it turns out weird. Now the pen tool, though I never use the pen tool, allows you to make curved lines. And once you get the lines curved, and you exit out of the pen tool, they become just shapes. Now this tool, obviously the text tool. Oh. Log out of Skype first. Pencil tool, obvious, that's a pencil. And down here you can change straighten to smooth and ink. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. That was just a toll-free call. Hate those calls. Okay, next is the brush tool. Now obviously, over here you can change the brush size, small stroke, and since it's in gradient, it'll appear as a gradient. So let me turn that to basic color. There, it's all black. Changing it about that size to the maximum size. So as you can see, a great difference in the size of the lines. But aside from just changing the size of the lines, you can also change the shape of the lines in the second box. Now I have a square one. And now a diagonal one, like a windshield wiper thing. Great for making straight diagonal lines. Can always be parallel. Okay, and this tool is the line ink tool. Now what that does is if you have a box and you change the color to light blue, you can see this. These are still black lines. But if you have like a red line over here, and you want these lines to be those, you could either go over all of them, or you could just click this. Well, first you need the eyedropper tool. Then when it goes over and has a pencil line, it becomes this. And then you just do that. Another way of doing it, if you don't want to try to just simply go over that little line, is just select all the sides, go to your color panel, and just click a color. Same with this, you just change it. Paint bucket tool. You have a circle, it's blue, you want to change it to green, you just click and there you go. Now since there's nothing closing off this, you cannot paint anywhere else. It's only in a place that has a border around it. You take away that border and it becomes unpaintable. So corners, pretty useful. Then the paint dropper tool, like I just showed you, selects the color you want, allows you to paint with a border. Eraser. Nope, too big. Eraser tool, pretty obvious. Erases. You can change the shape and size of the eraser. But the eraser tool gets pretty tedious because of the fact that, one, you have to actually make sure you got every little freaking thing, or else something like that appears and you find out that you lost a piece. So if you just want to erase everything on one layer, you just click the layer, right click, cut. Gets rid of it. And then on top of that, say you have an object and you have it at a shape you want. If you accidentally cut that shape away and you think you have to restart it, Okay, cut, and then you just right click and go to paste or paste in place. Paste puts it in the area that isn't where it was but still has the object. Paste in place places it exactly where it was and still has the same shape. This hand tool allows you to go anywhere on the stage you want. Lets you drag the stage, I should say. Zoom in or zoom out. Personally, I never have it on zoom in, or in this case enlarge. I always have it on zoom out because of the fact that you can zoom out, and if you want to zoom in, you just select the area you want and it zooms you in automatically. And then if you want to go back out, you just gotta click. Whereas zoom in, no matter the size of the area you pick, it can only zoom in. See, as you can see, everything just gets larger and larger until it gets to 2000%. Now you can go to show fit in window, show frame, show all, 20%, 25%, 50%, 100, 200, 400, 800, or whatever. If you want to go to a specific amount, just type it in, 1235, and there it is. Now to add a layer, you can either select this, or you can just right click, insert layer, and either you can just also keep pressing insert layer, clicking this, or up here it shows you edit and repeat new layer as Control Y. So you just continue to press Control Y, and you'll see that it adds layers. Now what these layers do is it actually makes animation a lot easier. Or if you just making an art picture, it makes it easier because one, well, let me switch the color. Black line and say a medium blue. What layers do is it separates objects from each other. You can have a square and a circle, or in this case a rectangle. And as you can see, I can move it without the rectangle being deformed by the circle. And another thing is that you can also pull the color out and leave the border behind. But if you, also the circle doesn't deform the rectangle. But if both objects are put together, then they clash with each other and they end up being a meshed object. As you can see, they're not very pretty. So if you want to make an animated character, just make like a circle stick. Oh, just did that. Okay, so you make a head, the body, and you add frames. You can add keyframes, but this actually makes it easier. You right click and press create motion tween, and you hold the left click button, and it turns it into a shape you can actually motion tween. And at first it looks like nothing will happen, whereas if you don't have a motion tween, then it'll just look like this. But if you have motion tweens, then see it fills everything up. So now, if you want to add another motion tween, then instead of having to right click and press create new motion tween, you just select here, and that leaves all your tweens down, so that's just one continuous tween. So now as it goes up and down. Then you could also do that for the body, just motion tween it. And rotate it. Now for rotation, you could either rotate it like this. You can even do this, which makes the shape stretch outwards. But if you want the rotation to be to where it rotates at a point opposite, well, on the side that you have, but on the opposite area, then you hold Alt and rotate it. And as you can see, it'll rotate on the opposite angle. So bottom right is top left, bottom left is top right, top right, bottom left, top left, bottom right. As for these parts, it's the same. You hold Alt, and the same side you're selecting is the one that moves. Now, aside from motion tweening, there is also shape tweening. So clear keyframes, move tweens. Makes it pretty useful when you're trying just to simply get the look. Okay, so in graphic symbols, which I've been trying to say for a while, if you have animation inside of it, and you bring the circle over to here, and down to here, and then bring it back over here, then it'll go through this whole animation, which you can usually see anyways. But in order for it to play back out here, you have to make sure that the amount of frames you have equal the amount of frames in here. So if you have 35 frames out here, you need 35 frames out here. So as you can see the animation move. If you have too little, instead of seeing the whole animation, it cuts off at that specific frame. Now as for movie clips, kind of annoying, because they're basically only for looks. If you have a basic object, like say a tree or blades of grass, then having them as a movie clip could be pretty useful. I would still keep it as a graphic, but one thing movie clips have that graphic symbols don't have is that graphic symbols, when you go to filters, you cannot add filters. But you can add them to movie clips and buttons. What filters are drop shadow, and drops a shadow, make it blur, and give distance between that and the object. If you give it blur 0, then though it's kind of chopped up, it's still there. Strength, color, quality, and filters like that. Okay, so just went over drop shadow, then blur. What you do is increase the blur, increases how much is blurred. Now you can change blur X and keep Y unblurred. So it looks like that, where blur X to 0 and just blur Y. Or if you just want them both to blur, just have this lock. So like I said, having this selected lets you blur both of them at the same time. And then quality, as you can see, this is a blur, but low quality. Medium quality blurs it a little softer. High quality blurs it pretty nicely, which, as you can see, is a great difference between high, medium. Not really great between high and medium, but high and low really. Great difference between low and medium. Mid, medium, high. Now on to glow. Glow is an all-around thing. So if you put the strength up to 1000, circles it in a nice one. And as you can see, maximum doesn't really look that good, even when it's high. As you can see, it starts cutting off in colors. So what you do is have the strength at about 100, and just have it at about 200, which makes it a little nicer. Knockout, as you can see, takes away the inner symbol and just leaves the glow left. Inner glow makes all that glow from the outside disappear and go to the inside. Then you can add an extra gradient, so on top of glow you can have a dropped shadow, blur, an extra glow. This one could be outer or inner glow. And you can change the colors of the glow. So green glow, blue glow, black glow. Also knockout or inner glow. You can change the blur and the strength of it. Now, what bevel does is it gives it a nice look for you to see the whole bevel. Okay. Well, you can't have a black one since one of the colors for shadow is black. So instead, for that, change the color of this to red. And now it's a red circle. Add a bevel. As you can see, it kind of gives it a nice look. Kind of a three-dimensional kind of quality. Though not really. You can blur it to Can you give it a nicer edge? Strength. You blur it too much, and like right now it kind of looks like a metallic button with the kind of shininess between light and dark. But as you can see, if you get up closer, when you blur too much, kind of gets choppy again. You just go to high quality and now it's basically gone. Reduce the blur and something like that happens. Angle is basically changing the angle that the light and darkness is coming from. But on crossover, once you hit angle, then it's stuck on there. You can't get rid of it, you can't hide it, it's annoying. So I won't press angle. Now down here on an object, you can change the width. So right now it's at 59.6. Change it to 100, then the width becomes 100 pixels. Change the height to 1000, and the height is now 1000 pixels. But in the main case, Macromedia Flash's stage is small to begin with, so 1000 pixels really isn't 1000 pixels. Obviously, this is an IMAX. That was loud. Obviously, this is an IMAX screen, so for the 24-inch, it's 1920 by 1080 pixels. And then colors. Brightness, you have it at 0%. You raise it up, and it goes from red to whatever color you want. At 100, everything becomes white. It even changes the lines. So once you get down to the negatives, it gets darker. So go back to none. Go to tint. Red, blue, green. Give it more of a blue color. Then red and green down to 0 turns it purple. And this back to a weird red. Which Macromedia Flash also has this problem when you drop the values down to 0. It changes it back. No idea why. So, go back to none. Alphas. What alpha is the visibility of an object. So say the red circle's on top of the blue circle, but you want them to kind of look blended in. You change the alpha. You can change it to even just about at 3 it's there, at 2 it's there, but just barely visible. At 1 you really can't see it until you go into here, and you just can barely make out the outline shape of it. Alpha is a very good tool to use. Now, blending, layer, no idea, really. Darken, didn't do anything. Multiply, nothing. Lighten, that's white. Oh, lighten. For some reason, red, I don't like it. pale red pink seems to disappear over here. No idea. Screen? Nope. Overlay. Overlay. Hard light. No, I'm just gonna press down. Never mind. Add. Won't go through. Add. Subtract. Subtract makes colors negative. So, well, not really negative. Difference is when you invert. Also makes colors inverted. Alpha, then erase. Normally I never use those, so kind of no idea what they are really used for. Advanced settings, you can change the colors to whatever you want. Alphas, you can even change those here. But that's really it for filters. Well, now there's gradient glow, which is a kind of weird glow that see, it's kind of weird, no idea really. I never do use it. No, there's inner glow, outer glow, but full, which is where it does both in and outer glows. And gradient bevel. It gives you 3 color choices. Aside from the black and white, it also gives you a choice of turning it green and change the black to blue, change the white to purple. Now, as you can see, 3 different colors. Not sure about what presets does, never use those. Hold up. Yawning. Okay, so now on to the extra tools. When you make a symbol, down here it says registration. You can have it in 10 different points. You usually want it to be registered in the middle, because if you register at the top left, then the center piece of the symbol will be up here, and the center movement piece for it is here. Usually I like both of them in the same place, otherwise it gets annoying. But unsymbol it. And put it into the middle. Now, as you can see, just by clicking on it, all sides get stretched or whatever. You get scaled to whatever you want. But if you hold Alt, then it goes at a one-sided area. Now, if you move the center piece up to here, then you'll notice that when you move this, the bottom moves far faster, well, far more than the top does. So by the time you reach up to here, the top of here, it's already well down here. So same goes for the side. way over there. The further you put that, the further it goes. So over here, it doesn't really extend that far. Still further than the left side, but significantly less. There you have it, way out here. Just a little movement kind of makes it weird, because now when you pull closer to it, the right side comes in more. Now, as you can see, the left side became the right side, and the right side is going towards the left. And you basically got that now. Okay, so now for these corners, if you hold Control and Alt, and then you can drag this corner out here, and it kind of envelops it. But if you want to envelop the whole thing, right down here, envelop is here, you can drag it out, and then you can change how much bends into it. So as you can see, you can change it into interesting shapes. However, once you cross the two areas, it turns from a regular color and gets cut off and becomes weirdly shaped. It'll look like a flip off. Okay, so distort. Let's distort the corners, which is basically what Control and Alt, well, it is what Control and Alt does. But as you can see, the circle's edges just about follow the areas of where the where the square entangle. Okay, so locking. If you want to lock a frame, then you just click this, or even doing this. You can't select it anymore, but it's hidden. So unless you want to see it, unless you don't want to see it, you just click that. But if you want to see the object and still not be able to do anything to it, you gotta press lock. This enables you to see the basic line image of the object. So even though I don't have a line here, and this is bent inwards, when I click this, the only outline you'll see is the shape. Then when you double click it, you can name the layer, show or lock. You can change the type to normal, guide, mask, or folder. I'm not sure what guide really does, but I'll figure it out eventually. Folders are mainly if you have a lot of symbols for one, well, if you have a lot of layers for one specific symbol, for instance like a character, then you would kind of want to put them in a folder. You can change the outline color to black or whatever color you want. Then layer height. I'm not sure what that does, so say 200. Have fun, make it 300. Really have no idea what that is for. It's pretty much just a giant waste of space. Now for letters, whatever letters you type, you can change their font, though again crossover limits this, so you can't really change the font to really anything unless you type it in. For instance, metal cover. Changes it to a cool font. This kind of font I love and use quite a bit. You can change the size of the letters. This is at 68. Change the color. This I also made it green. As you can see, Macromedia Flash doesn't really like letters and slows down quite a lot. So I'll bring them back down. Now you can have static text, dynamic text, or input text. Not really sure what the difference is, but you can also add gradients to these. Kind of gives them a cooler look. But like if you have a black, well, let's make it red. Glow. Make it black. And you glow again, make it red, and then you bevel it. Kind of gives it a nice look. The larger you go, the nicer the letters and everything will become. But you also gotta increase the glow qualities. As you can see, they look quite a lot nicer. Edit, undo cut, repeat cut, paste in center, paste in place, paste special, find and replace, find next, timeline, remove frames or select all frames, edit symbols, preferences, customize tool panels, font mapping, keyboard shortcuts, view, go to, scene 1, zoom in, zoom out, magnification, preview, work area, rulers, grid, guide, snapping, hide edges, show tail border, insert. Now if you want to insert a new scene, inserting a new scene separates, well, it's useful for separating scenes, but at the same time it can be a nuisance. It's a lot easier if you just use this whole timeline. It goes up to 16,000 frames, but there are ways to get past that. I just don't know how to get past 16,000 frames. And even when I'm animating, I rarely even exceed that amount. No single one of my animations has yet. Usually a 6-minute animation would end up taking about maybe 10,000 to 11,000 frames. But say if you want a new scene, you just click Scene. Then when you go to View, go to Scene 2. So say you're on Scene 2 and you have circles and a bunch of stuff. Once you go to Scene 1, don't see it anymore because it's on its own little area. Modified document. You can give it a specific title, specific description, change the dimensions. So if you wanted it in 1080 pixels, then you go 1920 by 180. And like I said, obviously Macromedia Flash wouldn't really be able to give exactly 1080 pixels because otherwise this whole entire screen would be taken up. But when you export the image, it will be in 1080 pixels, so it will take up the entire screen. And the highest you can go on this is, I think, 2880 pixels. But if you want to go larger than that, and you have an image larger, you either just press on minimum image area, or you can just increase the DPI. Okay, so Bitmap. If you have an image in here and you want it to be traced, then when you click Trace Bitmap, it'll actually draw it and turn it into vector. Or you can swap your bitmaps, which is a lot easier to just go into the library and change it from there. Symbol, swap symbol or duplicate it. Shape, combine objects, timeline effects, transform. As these, arrange as these. Never use arrange, so not very useful. Align, never really used align either. Text, font, you can change your fonts in here, which is pretty useful since obviously I can't change my fonts here. Change. See, it gets annoying. I do not care. You do not listen. Great. See? I can't X. I'm not sure you hide. Font changes, size change, style change, plain, bold, italic, subscript, superscript, align, letter spacing, check spelling, spelling setup, which obviously nobody really cares about it. I see so much horrible grammar on the internet, but oh well. Apparently typing in all caps is yelling, so shouldn't all low caps be whispering? Manage, save commands, get more commands, run command, no commands found. Control, play, rewind, go to the end. Step forward, step back, test movie, debug movie. I am not sure what debug movie does. So, test scene, which test movie, if you only have one scene, then test movie or test scene do the same thing. But if you have two scenes, then testing the scene will only do the one you're on. Testing the whole movie compiles all of the scenes together into one Flash animation. I'm not sure what ASO files are, but I doubt you would really want to delete them. Loop playback. If your animation comes to the final frame, it'll instantly go back to the first frame and play again. Play all scenes, which is basically playing all of them, but better to just press test movie. I'm not really sure what these are for. Yawning again. Mute sounds obviously mutes the sound of the animation. Window. Moving in my chair for a second. Okay, so duplicate window. I'm not really sure what that does. Toolbars, main, control, and edit bar. All I really have is edit bar, that's really all you need. Timeline, tools, properties, library, command libraries, actions, behaviors, debugger, movie explorer, and a whole bunch of other crap. I never really use these. I just animate it. Just go jump right into animating. Well, make a story first, otherwise you won't have anything to do. Help, just basic help, which is really a lot easier if you just go on the internet and look up tutorials on YouTube or something. Okay, so now for gradient editing. So say you have a circle and you have a circular gradient, but you don't like it being red to black, or you don't like the colors. You just move these, and if you want to add an extra color, you just click in here. You can drag it wherever you want, and it alters the space and colors. Change it to blue, and now you have blue inside of it. You can add up to quite a couple of them, but there is a limit. Oh, see, there's the limit. So, bye-bye. Crap. Okay. I think it's playing with me, so go back to basic gradients. Oh yeah, rainbow gradient. There's a rainbow. No, this is not a time for you guys to make comments on that annoying thing. And then, not really sure what this is supposed to be. If as far as I know, you turn it this way, it's a desert. If you tell me that's not a desert, you lie. No, but there's linear gradients and circular gradients. Well, that's radial gradient. Radius. I don't care. It's a circle. Now you can change it to solid, linear, radial, and bitmap. What bitmap does is, if you have an image down here, the tab will open up here where it shows pictures, and instead of the vectors it will show the images instead of just colors. So, color mixer, color swatches. Not really sure what this is for. I never used this, never messed with it. Never really used these either. Never used these. I have no use for all of those. Library, color mixer, and these. This is basically my work area. I never even use these. But like, this folder would be useful. You add a folder and type in symbols. Then you could separate your symbols into here. Double click the folder to open it up, and double click to close it again. But that's it for the basic interface of Flash. Like I said, I don't know all the components of Flash. I'm not an expert at Flash, I just know how to animate. And just dove right into it. So, okay. Found another thing. Trash bin. You can either right click and press delete layer, or you can just click the trash bin. Bye. Now onion skin. So you have animate. And say if you have things moving around. Then when you press onion skin, you can actually see the movements. But as you can see, you can't do anything. So you go over here and you go to edit multiple frames, and then frames 3 and 4 get selected. Frames 5 and 6, and frame 1 and 2. Modify onion markers. Never used that, so onion skin outlines shows the outlines of the different layers. I mean the frames. And center frame. Not really sure what that does. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, folders. I'm going to show you the night guides folders. So say you have this and you want it all in a folder. Now it's in there. Just doesn't look like it. Nothing's changed. Until you click this little arrow and they all disappear. Everything in folder 1. So no matter what you have in folder 1, even if it's a bunch of random circles on any kind of layer, no matter what it is, once they're all in folder 1, they cannot be messed with if they are locked. Also, if they're in folder 1, they can all be hidden at the same time or invisible, except for the outline. Okay, so well, that's it for the basic use of Macromedia Flash. This wasn't showing how to animate or how to mask or any other special thing. It was just showing the basic functions of everything, except for Actionscript. Actionscript is a whole nother thing. The only Actionscript I use is play, stop, go to and play, and stop all sounds. There's a crap load of stuff you can do in here, but I'd rather much animate than use Actionscript. Not sure what you need to know in order to use Actionscript, but it's not really worth learning since you can have the fun of animating it all yourself. But it's all personal preference. But yeah, that's all for this tutorial. I'll be back with another one on other things like how to animate and doing masking. So until then, Jaramata. Well, if you'd like, subscribe and comment below on what else you would like to see as a tutorial in Macromedia Flash, and I'll think it over, and I'll most likely make a tutorial if it's something simple or a little in-depth. If it's too much out of my ability, I'll just tell you straightforward. Okay, so Jaramata.